There are moments in life that ask you a very simple question. How much do you know about yourself? Not who you think you are, not who you try to be, but who you actually are when everything is taken from you at once. When the person you love, the family you accepted as your own, and the future you spent years building, all turn against you, simultaneously, without warning. Today's story is about a woman named Elena Vasquez, and the day she walked into a church, alone, in a city where everyone in that building had been told she was the villain of the story. She sat in the back row, she waited, and when the moment came, she stood up. What happened next changed everything, for everyone in that room. Stay with me, because this is one of the most extraordinary stories I have ever had the privilege of telling. Elena Vasquez grew up in a close-knit Colombian-American family in Charlotte, North Carolina. She was the kind of person who understood, from a very early age, the weight that family carries, the loyalty it demands. She met James Hartley when she was 26 years old, at a work conference in Raleigh. He was 30, confident, funny in a way that felt effortless. She had always wanted that. A big family, a loud Thanksgiving table. James seemed to offer exactly that. They dated for 2 years. Elena worked hard to build relationships not just with James, but with his family, his parents, Robert and Carol, his 2 brothers, Nathan and Greg, his sister, Diane. Elena brought homemade food to family dinners. She remembered birthdays. She was not doing these things strategically. She genuinely loved them. What she did not yet understand was that the warmth she felt coming from that family was not unconditional. It was conditional on a version of her they had constructed in their own minds, and the moment that version was challenged, everything would change. James proposed to Elena on a Saturday morning in October, at a small lake outside Charlotte. She said yes before he finished the sentence. The engagement was 18 months long. The wedding was set for the first weekend of June, a ceremony at a historic church in Savannah, Georgia. What Elena did not know during those 18 months of planning was that something was happening in parallel. Quietly. James had been talking to someone else. Her name was Brittany Callahan. She found out the way people always find out, through a text message that was not meant for her. James had left his phone on the kitchen counter. The preview was 6 words long. Last night was everything. Miss you already. Elena picked up the phone. She read the full message. And then she scrolled up. She sat down on the kitchen floor and read the entire conversation. It had been going on for 7 months. She put the phone back exactly where it had been. Over the next 10 days, Elena did 3 things. She hired a private investigator, she quietly consulted a family attorney, and she began documenting everything. By the end of the 10 days, she had a clear picture. Financial evidence of trips on accounts they shared. A private social media profile that Brittany maintained. Elena organized all of it into a folder. And then, she made the hardest phone call of her life. She called Carol, James's mother. Elena told Carol what she had found. Calmly, clearly, without drama. Carol listened. Then she said, "Elena, I think you need to be very careful about making accusations you cannot take back." Elena said she was not making accusations. She was sharing documented facts. Carol said she did not want to see photographs. She thought Elena should take some time and calm down. Within 48 hours, James's family closed ranks. The story that circulated was that Elena had become erratic, that she had fabricated evidence because she was overwhelmed. Within a week, Elena had received calls from Nathan and from Diane. They stood by James. She had received no call from James. He communicated that he needed space, that he hoped they could move past this. Elena read that message 3 times, then she made a decision. She decided to go to the wedding. Before I tell you what happened in that church, I need to pause for a moment. If you are watching this and you have ever had the truth twisted against you, this channel is for you. Subscribe right now, hit that button and ring the bell, because every week on Served Cold, we tell stories about people who refuse to disappear quietly. Now, back to Elena. The wedding had not been called off. Elena's sister begged her not to go. Elena told them she was not trying to prove anything. She was going to tell the truth. She drove to Savannah alone. On the morning of the wedding, she got dressed, a deep green dress she had bought for herself. She put the documents in a clean envelope. She drove to the church. She arrived 20 minutes before the ceremony. She chose a seat in the last row. People noticed her immediately. James arrived at the front. His face went through surprise, alarm, and then a controlled blankness. The music began. The bridesmaids started their processional. Elena stood up. She said, "Before this ceremony continues, I need to share something with the people in this room." The room went completely still. Elena took out the documents. She described what they contained, the text messages, the investigation, the timeline. It took about 4 minutes. When she finished, she looked at Carol and said, "I am here because the truth deserved to be in the same room as the people who were asked to reject it." Then she picked up her bag and walked out of that church, slowly, with her head up, without looking back. The ceremony did not continue that day. The room erupted. Over the following days, the story the family had constructed began to collapse. Nathan called a week later to apologize. Carol called 3 weeks later. She told Elena that she had been wrong. James attempted contact twice. Elena did not respond. She had said what she needed to say. A year after the wedding that did not happen, Elena was living in an apartment in Charlotte with a view of the city. She was not over it, but she was free. There was a specific kind of freedom that came from knowing she had told the truth. She had walked into that church. She had stood up. And then, she had walked out. With her head up, without looking back. I want to sit with what Elena's story asks of us for a moment. Most of us would have stayed home, but Elena decided that the truth, spoken clearly, is always worth the cost. She left that church knowing exactly who she was. Her name was Elena, and she showed up with the truth. That was enough. If Elena's story moved you, share this. Subscribe to Served Cold. The truth is always worth telling. This is Served Cold, and we are just getting started.